Right, so over 1 million people have signed a petition demanding a snap election. MPs are actually going to debate it in January, and Labour's response is basically, nah mate, we're good. Welcome to UK politics in 2024, where the government's motto appears to be, you voted for us 6 months ago, stop being so needy. But before we proceed, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more updates on the UK Political Insight. Thank you. I'm your host here at UK Political Insight, and today we're diving into this absolute circus of a situation where the people want an election, the polls suggest Labour would get absolutely battered, and somehow the government thinks the solution is to just cancel more elections, because nothing says we're confident in our mandate quite like avoiding the voters at all costs, does it? So let's break down this democratic drama, shall we? Because this story has more layers than a Parliamentary Select Committee's report that nobody reads. The petition itself launched 6 months ago, right around the time Labour won their landslide victory. 6 months! That's how long it took for over 1 million people to collectively go, hang on, we've made a terrible mistake. Now, to be fair, that's actually quite impressive, considering most of us can't even remember what we had for breakfast 6 days ago, let alone sustain political outrage for half a year. But here we are, and that petition has now triggered an official parliamentary debate scheduled for January 12th. Now, before you get too excited, thinking this actually means something might happen, let me stop you right there. Westminster Hall debates are essentially the political equivalent of your mum saying, "We'll see," when you ask for something. It's a nice gesture, sure, but nobody's under any illusions that this is going to result in Keir Starmer packing up his boxes and calling a removal van. The debate will happen, a Tory MP named John Lamont will lead it, a government minister will show up and say absolutely nothing of substance, and then everyone will go back to their offices and pretend democracy happened. But what's genuinely fascinating here is that this is the second time this Parliament that MPs will be debating an early election. The first petition, set up by a publican called Michael Westwood, got 3 million signatures. 3 million! That's roughly the population of Wales saying, "Can we have a do-over, please?" And what happened after that debate? Absolutely nothing. So if you're keeping score at home, that's 4 million signatures combined, 2 debates, and 0 actual consequences. It's like a democracy-themed escape room where the door was never actually locked. Labour's official response to the petition was delivered back in August, and it's a masterclass in political non-answers. They basically said, we won in July on a mandate of change, we're fixing the foundations, rebuilding Britain, restoring public confidence. All very nice buzzwords that sound like they came from a corporate PowerPoint presentation about synergy and leveraging stakeholders. But buried in there was this delightful little nugget reminding everyone that the Prime Minister can technically call an election whenever he fancies, as long as the King agrees, which is a bit like your boss reminding you that technically they could give you a raise at any time. Thanks for that clarification, really helpful. Now, here's where it gets properly spicy. According to current polling, if an election were held tomorrow, Labour wouldn't just lose, they'd be absolutely annihilated. We're talking about going from a massive majority to holding on to seats you could count on your fingers. The poll suggests they'd be left with just a handful of their current MPs, which is quite the turnaround from their landslide just 6 months ago. It's the political equivalent of getting the job of your dreams and then immediately being told by everyone that you're rubbish at it. And who would benefit from this electoral carnage? Well, buckle up, because according to these same polls, Reform UK would likely storm to power. Yes, you heard that right. Nigel Farage could potentially be measuring up the curtains at number 10, either with an outright majority or in some sort of coalition deal with the Conservatives. Which is quite the plot twist, considering a few years ago Reform was still UKIP and primarily known for awkward photo ops in pubs. Now they're potentially looking at government. British politics moves faster than a politician deleting controversial tweets. But here's the thing about these polls, and this is crucial, they're essentially meaningless in terms of triggering any actual change, because the government knows they're unpopular, they can see the polls, they're not blind, but asking an unpopular government to call an election based on polls is like asking turkeys to vote for Christmas. It's just not gonna happen, is it? The whole point of winning a majority is that you get 5 years to do whatever you want, and no amount of petition signatures or Westminster Hall debates changes that fundamental reality. Which brings us perhaps to the most delicious irony of this entire situation. While people are demanding more elections, the government appears to be enthusiastically cancelling elections left and right. The Prime Minister's spokesman had to deny today that Keir Starmer is behaving like a dictator after it emerged that mayoral elections scheduled for next year are being pushed back to 2028. Let that sink in for a moment. Elections that were supposed to happen in 2025 are now happening in 2028. That's not a delay, that's a whole presidential term in American politics. And this isn't even the first time. Earlier this year, a whole swathe of council elections got scrapped, which prompted fury from guess who? Nigel Farage. Because of course it did. The man who might potentially benefit from snap elections is understandably miffed when other elections get cancelled. It's almost like there's a pattern here of the government being absolutely terrified of testing their popularity with actual voters. The cognitive dissonance is genuinely impressive. On one hand, Labour keeps insisting they have a mandate from the July election, that the people spoke, that democracy was done. On the other hand, they're postponing every other election they possibly can because presumably they're worried that people might speak again and say something different this time. It's like winning an argument with your partner and then refusing to discuss the topic ever again because you know your position has gotten weaker. Technically, you're still right about that one time, but everyone knows you're avoiding round two. Now, supporters of the petition are obviously going to be disappointed. The debate in January will happen, there'll be some fiery speeches, someone will probably use the phrase "the will of the people" at least 17 times, and then absolutely nothing will change, because that's how these things work. Parliamentary debates triggered by petitions are the political equivalent of those suggestion boxes at work that nobody ever actually reads. It's democracy theatre, giving people the impression that their voice matters while ensuring nothing fundamentally shifts. But what this whole saga really highlights is the bizarre state of UK politics right now. You've got a government with a massive majority that's somehow deeply unpopular just months after winning. You've got millions of people signing petitions demanding change. You've got polls suggesting a complete political realignment. And you've got a system where none of that actually matters. Because we had an election 6 months ago, and that's your lot until 2029, unless the government decides otherwise. It's almost beautiful in its dysfunction. We've created a democratic system where the voters get their say once every 5 years, and if they immediately regret their decision, tough luck. Meanwhile, the government can cancel other elections, delay votes, and generally avoid democratic accountability while simultaneously claiming they're the most democratic government ever. It's like having a gym membership where you can only go once every 5 years, and when you try to go more often, they tell you you're being unreasonable. So, what happens next? Well, January 12th will come around, MPs will debate, nothing will change, and we'll all carry on pretending this is a functioning democracy. The petition will sit there as a testament to over 1 million people who thought their voice might matter. Reform will continue to lead in some polls while the political establishment collectively pretend this is fine. And somewhere, Keir Starmer will be insisting he has a mandate while simultaneously avoiding anything that might test whether he still has that mandate. It's absolutely bonkers, and I'll be here covering every ridiculous moment of it. If you want to stay on top of this chaos, because Lord knows it's moving faster than government policy on pretty much anything, make sure you're subscribed, because we're posting multiple times a day with all the latest developments. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this deep dive into democratic dysfunction, and drop a comment letting me know whether you think Labour would actually be wiped out in a snap election, or if these polls are just political fantasy. Either way, it's going to be a wild ride, and I'll see you in the next one.